Ugh, these two little bolts can cause such a lot of grief, and you definitely have these in your house too. This is a cautionary tale for homeowners and renters alike. Now one day, not long ago, one of my daughters said she had some bad news, and as a dad, I'm thinking the worst. What is she gonna say, like, I'm pregnant or something like that? No, it was the second worst thing. Dad, there's water leaking from the ceiling. So I thought, you know what? I'm pretty much a professional DIYer. I'm pretty sure I can handle a water leak, right? So I decided to pencil in some time to work on it. The bathroom where the water leak was is located in the basement, so I went down to take a look, and there were just a few drips, fortunately. I knew I'd have to cut open the ceiling to figure out what the issue was, and the drips were from a soffit, so I figured it might be where the hot and cold water lines were, like maybe one of the PEX fittings came loose somehow. I finished the basement myself, including the bathroom, so I wondered if I didn't do a good enough job tightening something all those years ago maybe. I knew it wasn't a major issue though, because it only leaked from time to time, and the kids were telling me that it was when someone upstairs took a shower. So after vowing to stop showering for however many months it took to be able to resolve this, I penciled in some time to fix this the following Saturday. When the day came, I started by feeling for the wet area and then using my trusty Milwaukee Fastback to cut open the wet drywall and then peeled back the soggy stuff to see what I could see. I was surprised to immediately find something there that absolutely should not be there: mouse feces. Ugh. So I peeled back the insulation and found a whole slew of it, along with signs of a mouse having lived there. I wasn't expecting that at all. In fact, this whole area was moist, and I could see where a mouse had been tunneling through the fiberglass insulation to their nasty little home full of poop and pee. Great. So now I get to deal with a leak and mouse crap. At this point, I still didn't know what the issue was, but it looked like it was further over on the ceiling, unfortunately. Now this may sound odd, but I can't tell you how many times I've had this exact thought. Boy, am I glad I have an endoscope. I have two of these, and they actually come in handy all the time for projects like this. And this was literally the second time in a week that I needed to see inside a tight space like this. So I fished around up there with the endoscope, and after a minute I saw the leak. A drip on this black PVC drain pipe. I realized I would have to open up even more of the ceiling to get a clear idea of what was happening, so I cut another hole just to the side of the soffit, and when I opened that up, I saw the drain pipe in the ceiling, but nothing was actively dripping. I knew I must be close though, so to test my kids' theory about the shower, I went upstairs, partially filled the tub, and then had one of the kids empty the tub on my signal while I filmed the drain pipe downstairs. And nothing. So no dripping, nothing. So it hit me at that point, this was actually the toilet drain that I was looking at. I had the idea in my head this whole time of a leaking shower drain, since that's what the kids first suggested to me, so I neglected to even consider that it had nothing to do with the shower at all. Lesson learned, keep an open mind to what the cause of an issue might be, despite what you may have heard. Okay, so what I was actually looking at here was the upstairs toilet drain, which made this whole thing even worse. To use the terms popular amongst RV owners, this wasn't just gray water dripping down, it was black water. Yay. So first mice crap and now human crap, this job just keeps getting better. I asked one of the kids to then flush the upstairs toilet while I kept an eye on the pipe, and voila! That was it. A steady dribble of water came out around the pipe. I wondered if there was a loose fitting on the P-trap of the toilet drain, but after looking closer, I could see that everything was pretty tight, and the leaking was coming from somewhere higher up. So I went upstairs to see what the issue could be, and that's when I noticed that the toilet, if you gave it a little push, wasn't staying put. It wasn't moving much, but it could be moved from side to side just a little bit. The repeated motion of people sitting down on the toilet had caused it to become loose over time and eventually got to the point where it wouldn't stay in one place. I realized that this must have caused the wax ring that seals the bottom of the toilet to the black PVC drain underneath must have gotten squished out of shape with all that movement, allowing some of the flushed black water to escape around the wax ring and make its way down around the drain pipe to the ceiling of the basement bathroom. Mystery solved. Now the regular supply of water coupled with the soft warm fiberglass insulation also made it an ideal home for a mouse, which explained all the mouse feces found there and all the nasty stuff where that mouse had been living. Now if your toilet is moving when you sit or push on it, there's typically only one real reason for it, and that is that the bolts are not secure, and those are the ones that secure the toilet to the toilet flange. I popped the decorative caps, and sure enough, the fastening nuts weren't tightened down, so the bolts were like totally loose, and like I said in the beginning, these two bolts caused all kinds of trouble. Unfortunately, I couldn't just tighten the nuts onto the bolts and call it good because the wax ring had already been deformed. I needed to replace the wax ring, which isn't really a difficult job. So I turned off and disconnected the water supply from the toilet. I flushed it, and then I removed the nuts from the bolts and pulled the toilet up off the bolts. I cleaned up the old wax ring and then washed the area to give myself a nice clean start for the new ring. I decided to go with the Fluid Master waxless toilet seal since it's able to give a little without deforming permanently. This should help to prevent this issue from happening again. Now these new kits also come with new bolts, but as you can see here, the existing ones were holding in place just great. So with the new seal in place, I put the toilet back and I fastened down the nuts to the bolts hand tight. From there, I used a wrench to tighten them down snugly, and I will say this is a bit of a delicate balance here, because if you over tighten them, that can cause you to crack the porcelain toilet, and the goal is to really just get them snug enough so that the toilet, when gently sat on or nudged, doesn't move at all. Now lastly, I connected the water supply line and turned the water back on. I let it fill, and then I gave it a flush to make sure all was well from upstairs, and then back downstairs I dried the PVC drain pipe, flushed the toilet a few more times to make sure nothing came out, and mission accomplished. Now unfortunately, I still had a soaked ceiling area. And right now I have an air mover drying it out so that I can then repair the ceiling. Once that's dry, I'll need to put up new mildew resistant drywall, fasten it down, run new corner bead, mud and tape it, texture it, and paint it. Now ironically, when I explained to my kids what had caused the leak, one of them said, "Oh yeah, I've seen that leak on the ceiling for a long time now. I just figured you knew." And then another came out and said, "Come to think of it, I have been noticing water coming out from underneath the upstairs toilet after I flush. It's been like that for a while now." Thanks kids, appreciate that. Now fortunately, I'm in a situation where I feel comfortable doing all of that repair work myself, especially since I did that in the first place when I built the bathroom to start with. But if I had to call a handyman or a plumber to fix this whole debacle, I'd be out several $100s for all of this, and either way, this is a multi-day process. It's going to take a lot of time and a lot of energy. So the moral of the story, take a few minutes every once in a while to make sure your nuts are tight. Well, at least tighten the nuts to the bolts of the toilet. You know what I'm saying, right? So otherwise, you may find yourself dealing with mice feces and human feces, and maybe even the embarrassing realization that you can't siphon water out of the toilet to empty it into the tub because the tub isn't lower than the toilet.
You could have waited for me to clean it.
Now if you want to see a short time lapse of me turning our basement bathroom from a concrete slab into the magnificent finished porcelain throne home that it is today, you can check that video out right here. I'm Nils with Learn to DIY. Thanks for watching.